Good evening from IIIT Lucknow. It's a pleasure to have you all again with us for the next session of the Global Conclave. It is a matter of immense pleasure for us to announce that we have among us YUDHISHTER Yadav, one of the most revered personalities and head strategic initiatives, Future Skills at NASCOM. Before joining FutureSkills Team, Mr. Yadav was leading IT, ITES sector Skills Council initiatives for the Western region. He has helped many states and assisted state and central agencies such as skill development societies, Ministry of Education, Director of Technical and Higher Education, Department of Entrepreneurship and Skill Development, government and private universities, NSDC and IT-BPM. Industries to work together in design, development and implementation of large and focused skill development schemes/programs. It's a pleasure to have you among us, sir. And now over to you. Looking forward to a great session from your side.
Hey, thank you, Vinam, and I thank entire IIIT Lucknow team for inviting me. And thanks for such a sweet and long introduction. Hi, folks. Good evening, everyone. All the viewers who are watching us today. I wish you, first of all, a healthy and happy week and days ahead. Word of caution, which we all are doing for us family, and I would like to tell that to you folks as well. Try to stay safe, use all sort of precautions to ensure we are following the guidelines to avoid any sort of COVID impact on us. From there, let me take a few seconds to bring up my deck, and probably there's where we'll start the discussion. I plan to cover about 7-8 slides and cover my part of sharing information on the topic today in 15-20 minutes, and probably post that we'll open the session for Q&As. You can post your questions as part of YouTube comments, etc., and then we will try to answer them as much as possible. We'll try to keep good 10-15 minutes for that as well. Let me share my screen. Give me a minute. Vinam, just give me heads up the moment you see my presentation. Is it there? Just a minute. Is it there now? Super. So before even I begin, I think all of us would agree to this point that pandemic has actually pushed all the industries and every one of us as users or producers of technology to adopt digital. And some of the recent talk which has been delivered by some of the best industry leaders, both global and Indian leaders, that the digital transformation of worth few years has been executed and implemented in few months of COVID, which is a good sign for industry, a good way ahead for industry in terms of users and producers realizing the importance of digital. Having said that, it has its own challenges because there are multiple other factors which gets disrupted as digital gets implemented. And the topic which we decided to talk today was that how do you really build global enterprise? And I thought that to build a global enterprise versus the change happening and the way in which digital is getting implemented and acceleration in digital adoption, the work and the agenda on which I've been working from past 7-8 years is around scaling. And I kind of gathered my thought over weekend and understood that talent is something which cuts across horizontally as you try to build global enterprise, as you try to solve problems which one will foresee as they implement and embark on this journey of building global enterprises. So hence my presentation and my talk today will be around how talent gonna play a critical role in building global enterprise. So that's what I will cover. Having said that, I will still try to convey and communicate a couple of interesting facts from the surveys which has been done by other enterprises, I plan to showcase you a survey done by SAP recently, which basically tells how one enterprise has to be ready for new economy, which is in line with today's topics of on how do you really build global enterprise going forward. And these are some interesting 4 facts which came in that survey. Number one came, and it was customer experience matter most. And I'm sure you will not be surprised that customer experience actually outranked the profitability. Every organization who wants to become global in nature, who wants to become a ride on digital wave, has to factor and keep customer experience as their top priority. And that is something I thought I'll highlight in this particular slide. Second comes the employee engagement and experience. So while you do care about your external stakeholders, which are your customers, who sits outside your office, you actually also have to ensure the people in your premises, and in current times, if not in premises, your employees who basically work on solutions and deliver services to your customer, how well the experience is also for them to work with you. And these two becomes very important to deliver a lot in any organization who aspire to be global in nature. Third, gone are the days where people used to take decisions on gut. I think we all know that when you have a scientific way of executing something, it'll be foolish to follow gut and saying that I will not follow prescribed version and I will try to figure out something which my intuition or gut says. So be scientific as an organization. If you have data which can help you change your course of action, which can help you decide strategies, which can help you make decisions, I think you should fully rely on that. If you're not, as an organization, you should try to build capabilities which can help you harness the power of data which you can collect, and then the solutions and not moving for viewers who are watching us. So we try to reshare a slide again now. I hope you guys have followed me till now. We have, from a survey which SAP did, we kind of see these 4 important aspects for any organization to become a global enterprise. First one, customer experience. Second one, employee experience. Third one, the scientific way of making decisions using our data and building more capabilities to do that more frequently and not just occasionally. Fourth one, digital transformation, investing in buying new technologies, implementing them, producing them, and also ensuring that your workforce is trained on it. So these are the findings from that survey. I'll move to next slide. I'll just take a heads up from the anchor as well. Is my slide moving now? Can you see it?
Yes, sir. It's visible clearly.
Perfect. I also kind of watched a series of videos, which is where either NASSCOM president has spoken or some of NASSCOM leadership has spoken about must have in this hyper digital and contactless world. And it's very interesting for all of you to understand these 5 must haves. And we personally believe that these 5 must have are the factors to survive, even if you are in phase of building global enterprise or to rebuild your global enterprise. The first one, not in this series, it's not a priority series, but I'm just kind of bringing them one by one. The very first one is trust. Trust, I think, gone are days where you used to monitor working hours. You have to trust both your internal and your external stakeholders. You have to trust your employees. A vendor has to trust the supplier, and that will play a very critical role as you build and scale your organization. So trust is going to be a game changer, and I think there'll be a lot required to change the perspective in which we calculate or evaluate trust. Second one, talent, and I will cover a talent a lot in my coming slide, but as I said, and it's very important, you guys might have heard this a lot of other places, that it's not just technical skills, but professional and soft skills like communication skills, creativity, hunger of lifelong learning. I think talent is going to be the key differentiator and competitive advantage for a lot of organizations. And hence, this becomes second must-have survival factor in this world. Third, as we all know, innovation. And innovation is no more about cool technology, actually. It's about how do you really solve problem and ensure that billions of people are impacted with your innovation. So don't, I mean, when you think about innovation, you have to think beyond the boundaries of the nation you reside in, beyond the boundaries of state you reside in, and hence it should impact as many people as possible. Fourth one, inclusion and ethics. And ethics, to me personally, I believe is something which should be taught to everyone as people work on new and emerging technologies. They're both the sides of using that for good and bad. How as an organization you build a culture where anything you build actually empowers the inclusivity. Second, anything you develop, you have kept a layer of ethics in it to ensure that all of that you are building is for good. And hence, this becomes the fourth important factor to become the global enterprise. Last but not least is speed. Sorry for the spelling mistake here. Agility and resilience. I think it's not about how great your solution is. At times, it's about how quickly you deliver a solution. I think we all have seen, I myself is user of 𝐒𝐤𝐢𝐥𝐴 app and how quickly it was developed and delivered and made to use. That is something which speed is. Second, resilience. I think in today's world where scenarios are changing every now and then, it's important that how you regain your energy and rebuild again. And that ability defines you in the organization. And I think any organization gonna hit this every now and then. The only thing which can survive them is the ability to come back again and strive. And as we all know, agility, someone who is agile enough to kind of adjust with changing scenarios around you and keep on building new stuff. This is the fifth factor, and then fifth factor, speed, agility, and resilience becomes very, very critical. Moving next, so these two slides basically covers the overall perspective of what one should need as and when they are rebuilding the global enterprise. And I now plan to go deep in talent because that is something which I have worked on from past 8 to 12 years. And we'll see how that becomes, plays a critical role in building any organization, building nation as well. And on top of it, how it becomes a competitive advantage for most of the organizations in this current scenario. So I think we all know emerging technologies is very well penetrated all across and around us. But I think the only way you can harness the advantage of emerging technologies through talent. And hence, if you look at the headline of the slide, I've added saying that emerging technologies, the game changer will, with the help of right talent. I think the opportunity for India is that we are about $200 billion digital economy currently, maybe little more than that. And we have a potential to become $1 trillion digital economy by 2025. So of course, there's no doubt that one should move on digital solutions, but then what are the risks? There are some of the risks which highlighted. One, that you have to at least reskill and upskill about 54% of all the employees you currently have, which is huge number, which comes to more than about 2 million. There'll be job displacements, and hence you need skilling charter as part of your core strategy and not something which sits as secondary list. It has to be primary priority list as an organization. Second, of about 4 million jobs industry today, the nature of 60-65% is likely to change over next 5 years, and that's what I kind of covered, saying that there'll be job displacements there'll be change in nature of job, and hence not only organization but a person himself or herself also should be investing a lot of time in figuring out on what they want to train themselves on, and hence a lifelong learning point which I made in my first slide, that let people figure out if they wanted to become lifelong learners. I think the only solution we have is that every company has to adopt and accept the fact and navigate through this change of saying that I need to skill and reskill. And we believe that this will become the key competitive advantage, not only for companies, for nations. As you all know, I think this is pretty simple, seeing that any other country who want to give out orders, and they will only give out to or to the countries or the companies who come from a specific countries where the talent is there, so that it can be delivered in time, so that the cost is manageable, all of that, and hence this is regaining the talent, the new competitive advantage. Moving next, I thought I'll highlight specifically that when we talk about talent, while technical skills are critical, it's not just the technical skills. You also need to figure out professional skills. As NASSCOM, we started an initiative long back called FutureSkills, and we identified which are these technologies who will disrupt the businesses of industry, which means that it will not only disturb the large companies, it will disturb small and medium enterprises as well. A lot of startups who will emerge in years coming will be building solutions on these tech. And then with that study, we kind of agreed on left hand side, if you see the technical skills which we are building solutions on in terms of skilling people. And these are artificial intelligence, blockchain, big data analytics, cybersecurity, cloud computing, Internet of Things, RPA, social mobile, virtual reality, 3D printing. On right hand side, here the list of professional skills, and the combination of both becomes so powerful that the overall outlook of any organization changes by means of having a combination of the skill in their employees, and hence both are equally important. Moving next, wanted to just inform everyone that as NASSCOM, we embarked on the journey of launching this program called FutureSkills, initially for B2B, which meant that organization has to purchase license to access the FutureSkills, and the objective was to train about 2 million people over 5 years. We already have training on 10 emerging technologies and 10 professional skills, which means that we have within these 10 emerging technologies, we actually have a training program for more than 20, 30 job roles or occupational standards, which we have defined. There are also training program for about 155 plus unique skills on it. The platform is a learning exchange platform. It curates content from various sources. It brings that content for you to consume. And as a user, you'll be very happy that in my subsequent slide, I plan to inform you all that we have moved from, we basically, apart from B2B, have launched a B2C mode of FutureSkills, which is in partnership with Ministry of Electronics and IT. And all of you can join that and access some of the best industry and world-class content on your phone and on your laptop, and there is no charges to access that platform. And I'll cover that in my last slide. I thought I'd also give you an example of how organization invested, and some of these examples are highlighted here, in as they felt, and some of them kept actually talent as part of their core strategy. We worked with these organizations to implement some of the programs. So there was a program which we launched in WNS where they actually rolled out a RPA training for about 4,000 employees on FutureSkills. Second, FutureSkills platform itself was given to all Wipro employees, and it was then extended that the foundation program, which we defined as NASSCOM, was made available for Wipro employees to choose and get trained on. HGS actually leveraged the primers on AI which are on platform, which means that primers are nothing but a 1 hour series of learning modules or small nugget, which helps you being more conversant with technology. If you look at CGI, they actually rolled Digital 101, a program to about 16,000 employees. And this actually helps people to have know-how about technologies. Scient has implemented a program on AI for about 5,000 employees. Symantec has actually sponsored a scholarship for women candidates on cybersecurity program. John Deere has used AI Foundation to about 400 plus employees. And there's a long tail of us working with these global organizations implementing skilling program, as all of them feel that reskilling is not just additional responsibility, but it's a must as people are implementing digital technologies. And we work with not only organizations, but with a lot of universities, colleges all across to help their student and their faculty member also get trained. Coming to my last slide, this was a program I was talking to you about, that nation felt the need of skilling, industry felt the need of skilling. As NASSCOM, we joined hands with Government of India and we launched a program called as FutureSkills Prime. The mission is to basically reskill and upskill a total about 4 lakh people in over a period of 3 years. And this 4 lakh is the target where you have a benefit from government coming to you. But idea is that this becomes the digital learning platform for anyone who's citizen of India to get trained on new and emerging technologies. It has 3 level of program, which means that it has a digital fluency program where it helps you be more conversant with new tech. If you are done with that particular category of programs, you can move to foundation, and then you can move to job ready programs. So do visit this and socialize this. Lot of people using this as part of their benefit. And I encourage all of you to at least try your hands on to get yourself trained on new emerging technology on this platform. What it does is 3 things. As I said, it helps you have the content which make you more conversant, which is A1, digital fluency. Second, it helps you offer industry recognized certifications and badges where some of the world best content provider and technology producer are giving you training. Third, it also actually gives you learning incentives, which will be kicked in very soon. Once you complete the program, you will have support from us to ensure how you move up to the ladder. On right hand side, if you see, this is a government supported program, and it is a national initiative, which is itself is unique. It is industry led learning ecosystem. We have very strong ties with industry and very strong ties with content partners, so that you have world best as a consumer, which gets covered in C2 and C3. Goal is simple, that a public platform which can be assessed without any cost to get anyone trained on digital skills. That's the objective of this particular program. And here is where I end my part of conversation, and we'll open for Q&As. Ultimately, the key message is that everybody has realized that talent is not secondary, but the prime factor in building and scaling up in new and emerging world where digital is at the core. And hence, try to use the properties which government is creating, which NASSCOM, whose industry body and for larger interests is creating. That is what I would like to message out each one of you who are from IIIT Lucknow listening to us today. We can open for Q&As.
So as a student also, I guess I was able to relate with most of the problems and how scaling is what is the biggest challenge. So as per the keynote, so firstly, like you talked about, today's innovation is more about solving problems. So as someone who has been working towards building skills and has studied the whole dynamic, what are the major problems that are yet to be solved in this time? Like if you had to name up 2 or 3 problems, What will you call them as the biggest problems as at of this moment?
I think when I highlight this, saying that innovation has to be problem solving, a lot of time when uh, we are trained to jump to give solutions and not understand the problem, and hence and this is out of context a bit. I actually worked with Atal Tinkering Lab, and we created a module for students who are in school to learn AI. And in that, we kept the component of problem solving, saying that one, even if you have the skill, do you give enough uh, time to yourself to understand what problem you plan to solve? While you have all the technology, until unless you empathize with what you are working for, your solution might not hit the nail, right? So how do you understand the problem first and then start on building the solutions to it? So understanding a problem itself is a biggest problem in this scenario, and hence a lot of emphasis should be given to that, as in when you do the training or you consume the training or you learn more in technology.
You also talked about trust in the industry. So, as of the 2021, how will you define trust in the industry?
I think trust is two-way actually. It has to be between employer and employee. It has to be between partner and supplier. It has to be between a buyer and a seller. As you all know, I think we don't need, and machines are there enough to monitor everything and work, etc. Trust brings in more productivity, and we've seen that from ages, right? When there's a trust factor between two organizations or two individuals, of course, the productivity is much higher. You need less check and balances to ensure that work is done, and the commitment is far more stronger than anything else. So, and as we move digital, I and you don't see people, how do you really ensure that people are given enough freedom that they feel that someone trusts them, which empowers them to deliver more? And this is not just employee employer, but this will vary in all the relationship among stakeholder which I spoke, which could be a buyer and supplier, which could be a partner and two partners working together. So that's the importance of trust.
So, there's a question by Niharika that what do you actually mean when you say talent? Like, is talent something that you are born with, or is talent something that over the years you will learn and hone it, and that is what is defined as talent, or it is something you are given when you're born?
I think talent, I think let's double click on talent. I think we are talking also about skill, right? You might have a high IQ as you come in this world, but as you know that the world itself is changing. When I was in college, I learned programming languages which are not even in existence today when you have to deliver solutions. And it doesn't matter how intelligent I am. If I don't know the programming languages which are in use today, I am of no use. So it's not that you born with talent. Of course, you born with some sort of intelligence, but given you have a learning mindset, that is more important. That how you embrace change and changing scenarios around you and keep yourself up to the mark. And I still call Darwin, it's not about theory of fitness, it's theory of survival. It has come into skilling and training now. It's about how do you really keep yourself up to date basis what is needed in current world, and always ask that question to yourself, that am I relevant to current world? I think that question will help you understand areas on which you to invest in. It could be not training to skill yourself on a programming language, but on a personal development, maybe on communication, maybe on something else. Investing in yourself, in your learning, is something which one has to understand. And if till the time that mindset is there, I don't think you'll have any issue. It doesn't matter then beyond a point.
So there's an interesting question on the same lines by 𝐈𝐓-𝐿𝐴 that according to you, what is the key difference between skill and talent? So like where do you draw the line between skill and talent?
No, I think talent is a combination of concept one has and concept plus skills, right? What happens in school is that we try to help people understand the concept and give more emphasis on it. And as we move on in our education, we get more focused on getting acquired a skill. I think both are equally important. One has to really have basics very clear, right? Very, very clear. If your basics are clear, and this is as good as a question which we used to ask when we were in school, that who will write a good code? Someone who has learned the syntax of programming, or someone who can think logically, right? I think thinking logically is much more important than just knowing the syntax, because syntax will change. There'll be programming languages where you can just have to do a drop down, but logic and your ability to define logic and put logic in any program gonna remain irrespective of any language, coming in and going away. So talent is a combination of concept and skill. One should give emphasis to both and try to ensure that no, the person is honing their concept and skill on things happening around them.
That was wonderful. So, to quote Rohini, she has recently read a book that talent is overrated by Geoff Colvin. So, here Geoff has debunked both talent and experience as determining factors and instead makes a case for practice motivation. So, that what are your views on this?
No, to some extent, I agree. Until unless, and we call it experiential learning, right? And when, so there's an interesting assignment which I worked on when it was first stint, where we used to work to help people have experiencing learning experience. And there are 3-4 ways one can learn new things. And I'm quoting our vintage way of studying, which is given by Patanjali Maharishi, and this is something which was studied in IIT Bombay, by the way. There's a pratyaksh, there's a pramana, there's agama. Pratyaksh is something which you can see and learn, and that is called experiencing learning. That is what we call as practice, hands-on. If you ensure to get your hands dirty on something, that experience will remain with you for a longer period of time, and the learning will imbibe there is much stronger. And of course, we do encourage it. So I don't deny fully, but I kind of agree as well.
So, like, what we can say is that there are multiple reports coming in every year that the graduates of today are not employable. That India is producing lakhs of engineers, lakhs of graduates, but when it comes to employability, the numbers fall down to thousands. So, if, like, according to you, what is the problem with this? B, that what are the skills of today that if you were yourself 20 at this age in this year, so what were the skills that you wished you have?
See, if I have to take the lowest common denominator, I mean, to be very honest, we are not really worried about triple IITs and IITs. Of course, they will figure out their ways. So, like, but if we to average out the regional colleges and colleges in tier 2, tier 3, and we did a study pre-COVID of how companies do hire. Of course, you have first toll gate where you have to have some academic performance threshold to be reached. I mean, no denying it. You can't say that I'm below threshold and I have to apply. Achieve that threshold. That's one. The second toll gate, which companies do put in place to ensure filter out the potential person to be hired versus not so great, is, I think, these skills which we just spoke in our discussion, the logical abilities, the reasoning, the mathematics skills, etc. Because this is at core of learning anything new. If you're good at this, probably you can build on new things as you move in life. Third, which they really gave importance, was on the professional skills, communication, campus to corporate, etiquettes, agility. Some of these new skills are also now gaining a lot of interest. I mean, at times, and we have seen that if you're not agile by being part of a project team, you actually become less productive and you kill productivity a lot of other people. So some of these skills like agility, etc., are also coming into play. have a threshold, have a good, you have to choose one or two technology where you are really good at. And I would bet on AI going forward, or data science. And India, as I see India growing in that domain really well, plus a good balance of your professional skills, which includes logical reasoning, problem solving, all of that.
So there has been a lot of talk about by you on overall development. That is, having the right technological skills plus having the professional skills. So in general, like colleges are said to offer this overall development. But again, how you said like colleges are not doing the same. Like I guess colleges are able to give the technical skills, but they're failing in the professional skills portion. So what will be your view on that?
I think I would, and wherever I go, and I try to put this recommendation is that you can't do everything in house, and you have to figure out right partners for yourself. So I mean, you just go out and hunt for industry partners who can do it for you, and there'll be industry will be very interested. I mean, why you have to task everything on your professors to deliver? Why can't you get a training partners who really been approved by a world class company and can deliver much better training program than your own teachers or own folks? Or why can't you reach out to a organization who would be interested to hire from you in future? So industry connects will definitely help. And I personally believe that overall development should be delivered in conjunction with industry, not independently. That will change the structure and outlook of a college and ensure that students are listening directly from the horse's mouth, which is industry, and get trained from them. So that will help for sure.
So, can we say that in India that we are kind of really slow on the graph when we talk about giving skills to the students? That if we talk about the compatriots in other countries, you will be able to say that during their uh, higher school education or somewhere there only they are able to get more skills than us. So, is it that India needs to be starting skilling at somewhere in the school levels, or are we on the right scale and we just need to make some changes, or do we need
No,
to?
of course. See, this is my personal view of what I read from NEP, National Education Policy, which has been released recently, right? And it's much in talk. I think it has the framework which helps a school to start skilling programs at much younger age, which will definitely change the way education is delivered. By the time these kids will pass out class 10 and 12, they will have for sure deep expertise in 2 3 areas which will be called as their skills, which is changing. And I think we are not behind. We've already been running a lot of programs for higher eds and up in skilling for good 5 to 10 years. As I told recently, we've launched a program called as FutureSkills Prime. It's one of its kind. And it may be if everything goes well, I think it will be the largest program in the world where you will skill a citizen on digital and emerging technologies, and you're really delivering a skilling program there. Uh, Hopefully, we'll be the front runners in doing the skilling and talent development across the world. And our idea is that if we move with this pace, probably we'll be the destination to hire and look for digital talent.
So again, when we are talking about the dynamics that rescaling will be happening at a large scale, so what role will the startups hold over the next 5 to 10 years in this industry now, in India especially?
I think startup will be great employers. Number one, we believe that they can generate employment first. Second, they can actually enhance the overall innovation quotient of a nation, which means that while why as a country we can't be technology seller as well as just not user. A lot of people in west and other countries look at us as deployment of technology. Why can't we become a sellers of technology? And think the only way it can be done is a no startup figuring out and producing radical solutions. And I personally believe that startups should not remain in that dilemma that they should not be asking for industry help. There's a lot of research which industry might have done where they might have given their rights to someone else to take that technology or research. They can handhold startups, and startups should look for partnership with industry to go out and make solutions which are world class in nature. I mean, these are industries which are already well established. You can reach out to them as a startup, ask for their helps, figure out the collaboration avenues, and build along with them.
So there was this really interesting question by Asita that you're talking about talents, and like these days the every student has a really career oriented mindset now, and like in many times in pursuit of talent, due to the fact that whether you can convert it into a career or not, people leave behind talents. So how does one make the transit how does one make a transition from a talent to a career, like converting that talent into a career?
I think it's like short term and long term, of course, and it depends on which stage you are in of your studies. If you are in your graduation and you don't plan to do masters, etc., and you plan to kind of acquire a job, you can actually focus on skills which will help you get that job. And there'll be enough research on available on the World Wide Web which will help you understand if this is what your qualifications are and this is what your interest is. This is what you should be doing to get a job. But in the longer run, if I think you are well aware of things you are really good at, you should not leave them as well. I personally believe, this is my personal opinion, that one will have multiple career phase, which means that today you might work for X domain of industries and you might change that in next 10-15 years. So in total, if you let's suppose work for about 30-35 years, you might have 2-3 industries for whom you worked, which will need different set of skills. I think personally, if I look at myself, this actually excites me and a lot of friends who are kind of are passed out of 2005 onwards. It kind of helps them get the energy back to learn something new and then start something from scratch again, etc., etc. So you always have that. You have to create a balance between short sight and your long term plan, and keep on picking and dropping things from the priority list of where you want to get yourself trained on.
So on the same note, Nishal had a really interesting question, and I
So
guess
I in
every
college, to be very honest, in college when I was very focused on getting myself trained on programming language and got myself certified on Oracle. And when I joined industry in 5 years, I realized that I'm not using that. I need to get myself trained on program management because I'm not coding now and I'm managing stakeholders, etc. So let me get myself trained on it. And now I'm feeling that I should be getting trained on something else. So you have to figure out. And again, that question which remains with you is, are you relevant to current times? That will help you find out areas in which you should invest on yourself.
again to quote that change is the new constant. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so Nishal had a question that every student has that. How do I pick a talent? Like we are very selective because we need a talent that will always make us land up somewhere safe. So we always have this question that which is the right talent for me, or how do I pick a talent for me?
You mean to say a skill?
Yeah, so basically, like if I have to now start learning something new, like how should I make that decision that this is the skill for me that I later wish to convert into a talent to a career?
It's a difficult question, actually. This has to be discovered, and uh, I would think to answer this. We'll probably will park this for a later time, because there has to be a way in which you discover what you love versus what will give you the employment, and how do you really keep a balance of both, and then figure out what you have to invest in. But yeah, I will try to answer that in some time.
I guess leaving the comfort zone is the most important thing one can do right now.
Absolutely, I think that's one. And so to be very honest, as representative from industry, maybe I expect from all of you that you guys are fine putting yourself in difficult situations. So you guys are all okay and prepared from your side, saying that we are fine moving out of a comfort zone. Some of these things are given now. I mean, there was a mentor to me who said that there's something called a zero talent, and if anyone is struggling to acquire those zero talent skill, you have no place in the world, which means that you have to come out of your comfort zone in time, figure out a lot of basic skills. So those has to be there.
Crystal needs to start putting extras now. So, Shaurya has quoted you. So, like, you were talking about how ethics come really important into your products. But in today's industries, good ethics and profits are being seen as a trade off. So, like, how do industries work now? Like, is it true that you can go hand in hand with profits and good ethics, or are they actually a trade off?
And that is all the more reason to train people and build a culture on ethics, saying that we will not compensate ethics with anything else. I mean, you can't do that as an organization if you really want it to be world class in nature. And I think there, and hence, when we actually started building some of the content for school students, you won't believe we had a dedicated chapter. And this has been given to students who learn about technology as young as age 11 or 12, means that in class 6 and 7, saying that what are some of ethics you have to follow as you will build products for the world which is not near, the world which is 10 years away. So I think one has to leave profitability when it comes to ethics, and it has to be, I mean, some of it will also be abided with laws, as we all know, that companies has to follow certain ethics. Law plus your personal culture will both ensure that ethics are not being compensated to ensure profit is being taking the front seat.
So this is, I think this would be a good last question, Sheila. Like this is coming from a personal opinion that curiosity dies with age in our education system. And so, how do you believe that? What is the role of curiosity in all of this changing dynamic now? And like, what should be the steps taken by the system to bring this curiosity element back, which a 5-year-old does have, but a 20-year-old is not having right now.
Oh, I thought you were including when you say old age when someone is 30, 40, and 50 itself. So, by the way, let's not blame education system. We only engage with education system for good 15 years or max 18 years. Then we spend good 30 years as part of our professional life. So, in fact, more than what you spend in education, we spend in working. Uh, I think now it is something which is demanded in your role. It's not without which you can live. As I said, that every role is asking you to get yourself trained on new things, get yourself acquired with new skills. One can't leave this aspect of being curious, which is to discover how am I relevant, what are my peers doing, what's in demand in the world, how can I be more productive, how can I be put myself more to use, and all of that. So and an NEP actually helps one to become. I will replace curiosity with lifelong learning. If you have that in you, curiosity is a way to discover what you want to do.
So I'll like to ask you if you have any closing remarks that you or any message that you would like to pass off to the students to end of the session.
I think no closing remarks. Yeah, students these days are very smart. As I meet them and to what I compare when in our time, so they're smart enough. They have all the information with them on their phone. But yes, there are a few things which one has to really practice and implement. Is you should not be overwhelmed with the information which is coming to you. You have to figure out few focused areas on which you really want to build your career and life on, and invest time in that. And I was reading somewhere that there'll be a form which people will be expecting in any individual when it comes to talent and skill. T is that how well you are horizontally lying on various skills, where number of skills are more, but they will not leave with you with that fact that how deep you are also trained and skilled on one or two areas. One or two areas where you really deeply skilled and focused and you're master. That's the vertical line of T, and the horizontal line of T where you also know a lot of other skills. So kind of follow that structure for yourself.
So I guess this has been a really informative session for everyone seeing, and I guess now everyone will be going back home and asking the question that am I relevant in today's world? And that I guess the mantra is now to get out of your bed and to adapt and to change and learn. So I'd like to end the session by quoting Charles Bukowski that some people never go crazy. What truly horrible lives they must be leading. So thank you everyone for coming in, and especially thank you, sir. I don't think I like this is one of the most informative sessions I have had, and where I have learned things that I can implement on a personal note also, and everyone should. So this is where we'll be signing off for today.
Pleasure was
Thank
all mine. It was always great to interact with young minds. Uh, Start your learning journey today. You already are in your phase. Try to invest more on that.
thank you everyone. Looking forward to see you tomorrow for the future sessions.